Chapter 12. Aruna. They gathered in the sanctuary earlier than Chartry had asked, which was Catherine's doing. She had learned that the minutes before a meeting were often more useful than the meeting itself. "Don't push her," she said to Angel without preamble. Angel looked at her. "I wasn't going to." "You were." She was to the point. "Chartry will make things very difficult for us if you give her a reason to. Whether we like it or not, we owe the Camarilla, and they own us." A pause. "I would prefer not to watch you destroyed over a conspiracy theory." Angel considered this. He thought about Chartry's voice in this very room and what it had felt like to be on the receiving end of it. "Fine," he said. "Wise," said Catherine. Gabrinth leaned against the back wall, quietly taking in the dynamic. He was a gambler and preferred to understand the game before he jumped in. Susie caught his eye and gave him a small sympathetic look. He smiled back. The click of Chartry's heels approached, and the room hushed. Without a greeting, she asked what, if anything, they had learned from their excursion at the King of Clubs. Angel reported on the day spa, how Catherine had drawn out the information, how multiple sources had mentioned an elixir, something better than Botox, something that had preserved youth in ways that didn't add up. The Aruna day spa. The problem, he noted, was that it was a day spa. Chartry consulted her phone. "Here it is. Map, hours, reviews. They close at 8. Sunset was at 6:25, and it's just now after 7. She set cash on the table. "You two ladies will go in as human clients. Use your disciplines, find a way to stay hidden after they close, and then investigate." She looked at Angel. "You'll need to find your own way in. Shadows, tunnels, whatever suits you. We'll need you for the alarms and any electronic locks." Her eyes moved briefly to Gabrinth. "You'll figure something out." Gabrinth nodded with the confidence of someone who always figures things out. "Catherine," Chartry said, "a word." They walked out of earshot. Susie watched them go, then used Hunter's blood to augment her hearing. Chartry's voice was quiet and direct. "You're not looking well. You need to feed." "I'm fine," Catherine said. "You're not. I will not have a neonate under my watch descend into kindred anorexia and breach the masquerade in a frenzy. If you don't address this yourself, I will address it for you." Catherine said something too quiet to catch. "See that you do," Chartry said, and turned to leave. Susie regretted eavesdropping. She couldn't unknow what she heard, and now she had too many questions she couldn't ask. The Aruna Day Spa had soft lighting, eucalyptus in the air, and cucumber water on the reception desk. A young woman looked up when they came in. "Hi, welcome to Aruna. I'm Nancy." "Is Amanda in this evening?" Catherine asked. Nancy's expression conveyed polite regret. "I'm sorry, Amanda isn't in tonight. If you'd like a tour." The door opened behind them. A man in an executive suit rushed to the desk, nodded briefly to Catherine and Susie, and turned to Nancy. "Hi, I have an appointment with Maribeth. Owen Morgan, director at Palo Alto Venture Scientists." Nancy's warmth acquired a professional edge. "Mr. Morgan, you are late. Maribeth will still see you, but we'll need payment up front since we're approaching closing." Owen handed her his corporate card. "Duncan said you'd take care of the corporate discount." Nancy ran it with the practiced smile of someone who dealt with Owens regularly. A woman appeared at the top of the stairs. "Owen, right this way." He followed her up without looking back. Catherine watched carefully to see where they went. Gabrinth asked for a tour, and Nancy walked them upstairs. 4 massage rooms, 2 facial rooms, a steam sauna, locker rooms. One of the facial rooms was occupied by Sunny Day, who was friendly and enthusiastic and explained the various treatments available with genuine warmth. Gabrinth got so lost in her eyes that he didn't notice she had stopped talking. "Do you want something?" Sunny asked. Gabrath apologized and excused himself. At the end of the corridor was an office door with an electronic lock. Catherine gave Susie a look. Downstairs, Nancy finished the tour, the waiting area, the retail section, the cold plunge and hot tub beyond, calm and undisturbed. When her back was turned, Catherine spoke quietly. Forget we were here. Forget you saw us. Nancy looked up briefly with the mild expression of someone who has lost the thread of a thought and then went back to her closing duties. Catherine murmured to the others, "Stay out of sight so I don't have to do that again." They scattered, Angel near the alarm panel where he could read the code without having to hack it. Susie beside the water features, Gabrath to the men's locker room where he checked every locker with focus. Catherine murmured to the others, "Stay out of sight so I don't have to do that again." They scattered, Angel near the alarm panel where he could read the code as it was put in without having to hack it. Susie beside the water features, Gabrath to the men's locker room where he checked every locker with optimism and came up empty. Upstairs, Maribeth finished with Owen and told him to take his time. She left the room. Catherine was through the door before it had fully closed. Owen was still resting on the table, comfortable, in no hurry. Catherine was careful and still took more than she should have. She was aware of this while it was happening. When she withdrew, she was steadier than she had been in days. She slipped out and waited in an empty massage room. Owen came downstairs 10 minutes later, moving carefully. He left without a word. Sunny and Maribeth finished their cleanup and left. Nancy turned off the lights, set the alarm, and followed them out. Angel immediately disarmed the system and made his way to the office door. The electronic lock took longer than he would have preferred. The others converged in the hallway and waited. The lock yielded, the door swung open. Inside, a professional workspace, shelves of product, a filing cabinet, and a quantity of hypodermic needles and vials more suited to a medical spa operating under a doctor's license than an esthetician's. In the corner stood a refrigerator with its own electronic lock. Angel sighed and went to work. The lock, when it finally yielded, did so in a way that left it obviously and irreversibly compromised. Broken clean, no hiding it. Inside, in a 9-slot vial holder, 4 vials labeled in careful handwriting, Vitae Elixir Concentrate. Catherine pocketed the original vials. Then she looked at the broken lock and made a decision. She peeled the labels off and pressed them onto 4 empty vials. Each of them opened a wrist and filled one of the empty vials with their own blood, then placed those back in the vacated slots. The original vials, the ones they'd found, went into Catherine's pocket for Chartry. She gathered the Rejuviderm and Botox from the shelves as well. With the refrigerator lock broken and product missing, it needed to look like an ordinary burglary, not a targeted theft. They left through the front door. Angel wedged something small into the door frame on his way out, leaving it slightly ajar. An open invitation for someone else to take the blame. Catherine called Chartry from the sidewalk and told her what they'd found. "Bring them to me at the Scientology Center." Chartry met them at the door. She looked at Catherine for a moment before she shook the vials. "You're looking better," she said. It was not entirely a compliment. "I'll be in touch when the analysis is complete." They went their separate ways. Angel back through the tunnels, Gabrath onto the Stevens Creek Trail at a run, Susie to the moorage and her art. Catherine walked downtown alone. The night was quiet, and the streets were nearly empty. She was steadier than she'd been in days, and she didn't particularly like what that meant. She walked until the sky began to change at the edges, and then she went home.